We shall start now.
Yeah,
Okay. Now we have to start now. Good evening to everybody. On behalf of Philosophy family, I would like to extend a hearty welcome to all the learning teachers of philosophy and other disciplines and all the scholars of our country and abroad. Today we have two sessions. In the first session, we have invited Professor Sirajul Islam from Vishwabharati University, Shantiniketan. Today, he will speak on the topic the necessity of moral values in the age of science. And in the second session, we have with us Professor P.R. Mukuls from Rochester Institute of Technology, Rochester, New York. And his topic is Vedanta wisdom in age of science. So today, both the topics are very beneficial for all of us. And Professor Sirajul Islam has a teaching experience of more than 30 years in UG, PG, and PhD level in Vishwabharati University. And he has this specialization in Western philosophy, Sufism, Bhakti philosophy, comparative religion, ethics, contemporary Indian philosophy, inter-religious understanding, and so many things. And Professor Islam has visited many countries. He has visited more than 15 foreign countries for delivering different academic session, academic lecture on the different fundamental issues of philosophy and religion. And Professor Sirajul sir has offered ICCR chair at University of Western University of Kingstown, Jamaica, and many other countries that I don't want to explore because of the constraint of time. And Professor Sirajul sir has published many books that I don't want to reflect here. He has been assigned with many administrative positions in different universities of our country. He has been conferred with many awards, many felicitations like Rashtriya Gaurav Award, Vishwa Navi Award, and many other awards. Because of the constraint of time, I don't want to recite all his academic and co-academic activities. And he is an eminent scholar, eminent writer, and eminent speaker of our country. With this, I welcome Professor Sirajul Islam sir to this webinar. And today, I welcome Professor Pramod Kumar Das, the admin and host of the session. I also welcome all the senior professors of our country and abroad to be associated with us in this academic platform. And with this, I welcome Professor Sirajul Islam to deliver his talk on the necessity of moral values in the age of science. Over to Professor Sirajul sir. Over to sir. Over to Sirajul sir. Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself.
hello.
Sir. Now it is okay.
Okay.
Sir, continue, sir. Continue.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kailash Chandra Maharana ji, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, Professor Srinivasan Krishnamurti ji, distinguished other members of philosophical family, dear brothers and sisters. It is indeed a great privilege to me to join in this auspicious occasion as well as a noble initiative taken by the friends of family or philosophical circle. It is an opportunity to all of us to discuss something and bring something for the benefit of our society, for our country, and the people as well. Professor Chandra Maharana already been articulated that the today's my discussion is basically on necessity of morality in the age of necessity of value or moral value in the age of science. It is a very controversial question because value is mainly connected with ethics, whereas science is a subject which basically deals about the fact or facts. Why we are talking about the necessity of moral values in the age of science? Let's begin our discussion from the second part. All we know that the present era is an era of science. Everywhere in our daily lives, daily needs, for our society, for our food, dining table, and day-to-day household needs to space science, planetary science. Everywhere there is the domination in science and technology too also, new inventions. There is the domination of science. And generally people are talking about that this is the age of science. There is no doubt that we are living in an era where the domination of science is everywhere. But at the same time, our conflict, violences, disharmony, various other national, international problems are related to science and religion also. In this scientific era, all we know that this is the 21st century. New inventions already invented by the science, still they are engaging for the new other inventions in coming future. So legitimately a question may emerge. We are talking about moral values. Science is a subject which deals particularly on facts, factual issues, because it attracted the attention of the people due to its universality, concreteness, certitude, and experimentation, observation, which are basically infallible and universally acceptable to all. Therefore, some people say that there is no necessity of value in the fold of science. But each and every moment we are facing different troubles and problems and conflicts, violences in the world, and science ultimately leads towards destruction. Severe destruction. So value is basically is the crying need of our society. That's why in scientific institution, business in agencies, industrialists, technocrats, technologists, all are concerned now for value. This is the age of science, no doubt. But science has two aspects. One is constructive, another is destructive. Human being, there is the animality as well as divinity. Before the new invention of science, long before the new invention of science, Indian philosophy particularly given a much more emphasis on the constructive aspect of human life, so that the harmony of nature, so that our life will be free from all kinds of contamination like air pollution, water pollution, deforestation, ecological imbalance, all are to be regulated, and balance of human nature as well as with environment can be preserved. In this scientific era, there is a big question: which is much more prominent? Which is the utmost need of our present society? Because there is no guarantee that we will survive tomorrow. Our society, our planet, gradually moving towards the nullification and severe destruction. So what is the way out? How we can get rid of it? Value awareness. Every day, in one hand, there is the much more invention and highway. On the other hand, similarly, value awareness is decreasing day by day. There is no balance. Therefore, environmental problems, environmental crisis, social problems are increasing day by day. We'll have to maintain balance. Now come, what is value? It is a big question. Value are basically, value is basically individual belief or beliefs that motivate people to act in one way or another way. They are the guiding principles. They are the guiding principles for human behavior. Value has to do with how much something is worthwhile. It means that is, that we'll have, as a human being, will have to do something that's related to value. There is the set of value also. Then value is related to axiology. Our discipline, academic discipline, particularly morality or ethics, is inclined to maintain or as some measure the degree of person's belief, where values that is considered most beneficial for the society. An atheist can negate religion. An atheist can negate the existence of God, but he can not able to negate the necessity of value. In one hand, value is an individual's accepted standard, which is the directive principles to perform such activities. It's related to our conduct, related to our behavior. And we know, in this sense, it is deeply connected with moral science and ethics too. Moral society's standard of right and wrong are very similar to ethical considerations. In ethics, where value denotes the degree of importance of something or human action, whether that action is good or bad, right or wrong, ought or ought not. With the aim of determining the action, whether the action is to be considered as a worthwhile or not, it is reflected in measuring the values of persons or ethical agents' sense of right or wrongness, ought or oughtness. So there are various types of values. We are basically talking about moral values. Values related to our society, therefore, cultural value, individual value, collective value, market value, values in different aspects. But in moral science, we only concerned about the two aspects of values, that is, intrinsic value and extrinsic value. Intrinsic value is basically the philosophical discussion concerning value. It concerned about the nature and classification of values and kinds of values. It is intimately connected with various other philosophical fields that are crucially depend on the notion on the notion of value, theory of value. It is also closely related to ethics and meta-ethics. But the economical notion of value, logical notion of value, a truth value, actual scientific factual value, economical value, where that means market value, are different. It will be clear if we would propound an example like the value of national flag, of our national flag. When we are celebrating or observing our August 15th particularly, this is the freedom. India achieved freedom. And that's why hoisting flags. Different people are purchasing flags from the market. So there are different types of flags and sizes. Then 50 rupees, 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 500 rupees, 1000 rupees. But relating to it, we cannot say that the price of Indian national flag is 50 rupees, 100 rupees, or 200 rupees. That's the market value related to economic value. But the value of our national flag, it is something different that cannot be measured in a particular market price. It's related to our ideals. It's related to our pride. It's related to our national pride too. Therefore, in my viewpoint, I would say it is an intrinsic value, not extrinsic value or market value. Extrinsic value is different. Intrinsically valuable means it is good in life. It is good in itself and good for its own sake. It is usually held that intrinsic value depends on certain features of the valuable entity. But there is the extrinsic value. That extrinsic value is something different, which is not deeply connected with the intrinsic value of a thing. Rather, it is extrinsic value related to the means or consequential attitude. In monism, substantive theories of value try to determine which entities have intrinsic value. Monistic theories hold that there is only one type of intrinsic value. That is, from hedonistic aspect, that is, the only pleasure has intrinsic value. Whereas pluralist theories say that various different types of intrinsic value, there is no doubt. And according to them, intrinsic values cannot be reduced to a single feature of an act or entity. So substantive theories of value focus on the feature in virtue of which something has intrinsic value, that is, the thing deeply related to thing in itself. which is not related to outside. So in intrinsic value, there is the notion of well-being. Extrinsic values can form chains in which one entity is extrinsically valuable because it is a means to another entity, and that means it is itself extrinsically valuable. Let's come to Indian aspect of value, where value is embedded with its philosophy and life too. Its notion of value is related to different types of debt, reno, and the notion of purusharthas also, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, so that there is the notion of responsibility. Dharma is here duty, like the Kantian notion, later on development. But before Immanuel Kant, this notion already been discussed by our sages and seers. Dharma as a duty, and duty implies responsibility. What is the aim of life? How we lead ourselves in this society, how we live in this society, from where we arrived, where we will go. All notions are directly or indirectly entangled with it. So value awareness, first articulated in Indian philosophy, later on in the philosophy of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. In dialogue, particularly in Republic, Socrates is stated about virtue, and virtue related to democracy. But in Indian perspective, their value is related to our life, aim of life, related to our freedom, liberation. So dharma here is the responsibility that motivates people to perform such action which is beneficial for the society. He or she will not live only for alone. Yes, values are individualistic and innumerable values in the society. The Indian philosophy concerned individualistic value as well as collective value. Individualistic values will help to perform such activities so that the collective values or collective benefit must be maintained. In one hand, the individual liberation moksha, on the other hand, the liberation for or emancipation for all. This duty for the benefits of others, the notion is deeply related to value notion. So Indian philosophy, the dharma and then artha for the welfare. It is not only an enjoyment, rather artha must be utilized in conscious way for the benefits of others and himself also. Then kama and moksha, that is the economic, that is artha, is related to our responsibility, duty, and since duty is related to it, artha must be utilized for the benefit of or well-being of our society. and mitigated life, teno taktano bunjita. It's very important. That is, the sacrifice is needed. And the restraint, living in restraint life. That's why frugality is denied here. In Indian philosophy also, this liberation only, not only, this is the goal of life. That, the goal of life, that is the attainment of the eternality. Each and every human being is interested to be an infinite entity. When ignorance imposed upon it, human being is basically in the state of darkness, avidya. That's why the human being motivated towards the other ways, and the goal of life has changed. So in summing up between these two, one is Indian notion of value, another is Western notion of value. There is method is something different. I am not theorizing it. I am not discussing on it. Rather, or not only concerned about the meta-ethics or normative ethics or duty ethics, whatever you can say. But I am concerning about the necessity of value in this era. If we want to preserve our society, if we want to save our planet, the value awareness is much more important. Whether you are an ordinary person, whether you are a scientist, whether you are an engineer, whether you are a mathematician or a physicist, no problem. Without value awareness, it is quite impossible to lead a good life. The notion good is very important, and this value is intrinsic value, not related to any other aspects of needs or the commodities goodness. That means the good health, good product. But here, good is intrinsic, not to be associated with the notion of commodities goodness. Here is the responsibility that good is not natural, so that more articulated is naturalistic fallacy. So good is here is some sort of, that means that is related to the sense of duty, responsibility, intrinsically valuable. So in this context, we know if we want to save our planet, value awareness is much more important. And propagation of value is very or crying need of our society. Because only the value awareness can mitigate our animalistic impulses. That is, the value awareness program is need to start from the school level. Empathy, kindness, human honesty, accuracy, courage, and even in science also it is needed. Just I am going to conclude. That is the virtue, building of character and mental ability. People are so in the state of depression in the scientific era. People are in stress. So mitigation of our expectation and the dutiful action and value awareness will be helpful to preserve our society, where the rationality, curiosity, open-mindedness, freedom from bigotry, critical attitude, objectivity, honesty, humility, evidential aspect from conviction are much more important to all people. Even scientists cannot deny it. We'll have to remember it that a scientist is also a human being. Then a scientist will have, in this era of science, a scientist will have to conscious concerning the values where the research or brain research was brain research activities. Some scientists say that there is the superiority of European people in comparison to the African people. But how far it will be acceptable? So, the in just keeping or performing or establishing justice in our society, the theory of retribution, award or punishment, and free will, people will have to judge in a systematic way, and if value awareness will be generated among all, irrespective of caste, creed, and religion, it will help us more in the age of science to live in peace and perfect tranquility. Thank you all.
Okay, thanks so much, sir, for your uh, very thought-provoking and clear presentation on the topic necessity of moral values in the age of science. And you have explored what is science, what is value, and what is the difference between ethics and meta-ethics, and what the difference between intrinsic value and extrinsic values. You have also explored on the Indian notion of values and Western notion of values, and so many things that you have explored that I don't want to um, reflect upon. And you have focused on the value awareness, and which leads to good life for the and you have also focused that to save our planet, value awareness is very very important, very very necessary for all of us, which should be cultivated from very childhood, from the school level, and it can also establish peace and justice in the society. Thanks so much, sir. Now we Pramod Kwadas, our admin, is with us. May I now request Professor Pramod Kwadas to carry on the introductory session of both the talks of Professor for both the professor who have presented the talk. Over to Professor Das.
Thank you, Dr. Bahrana. And really, this is an wonderful session that we have with us, Professor Islam and Professor Mukund. Am I audible, Dr. Maharana?
Yes. Audible.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very carefully, I was listening both the speakers. Topic was same, and both admit that today we are living in the age of science, and both admit that science and value are human possibilities, because we don't expect science and value from animals. It is man who is concerned about science and value. But when we speak of man, we can also discuss the primitive age and the primitive man who was nature dependent. So what is value? Anything that is meaningful or significant for life, that is value. So for a primitive man, food was value, shelter was value. If a person has minimum food to survive, that is his value. Anything that supplements our life, that supplements our existence, that is value. It's very common sense. Similarly, science itself is a value. Similarly, religion itself is a value. Technology itself is a value. Literature itself is a value, because that is necessary for human life. As food is value, shelter is value, similarly science means systematic knowledge. when you know something systematically, that is science. So that is also a value. But when the question comes whether science and value are compatible or not, whether whether science is value is relevant in the age of science, here this question is there only because of the misuse of science, misuse of religion, misuse of technology, misuse of literature, misuse of whatever we have achieved. Therefore, Professor Islam said, "Tanatektana bhunjita." That means, yes, we need matter, we need everything in our life, but we should know, we should have the sense of vairagya, we should have the sense of detachment, we should have the sense of pratyahara. That yes, our mind is engaged in something, mind is involved in something, but because mind is the only instrument, we don't have the second instrument. Mind is the only instrument through which we can do science, we can do religion, we can do technology. Everything is possible only through this mind. So this mind has a double function. It can be involved and it can withdraw itself from the involvement. So asakti and bhakti, both are possible only through this instrument. So when the modern man defines science and they equate science with materialism, definitely we shall say they are not better than primitive people, because they also valued food, shelter, are materially necessary for life. So science does not mean that the basic things, that is matter, that is our wealth, that is which has utilitarian value, which has pragmatic value. If that is science, then we are not better than primitive people who had no Upanishadic wisdom, who had no scientific knowledge, who had no sense of religion, but they had a sense of a value, because whatever was necessary, they valued that. So we can make a distinction between what is valuable for us and what we value. So what is valuable for us, that may be a materialistic interpretation. But what we value, that is an intellectual, a spiritual, or a very rational approach of value. What we value, whether we value something that is intrinsic, something that is internal, something that is meant for transformation, something that is meant for spiritual evolution, or we value which is which is necessary for our physical existence, which is necessary for our civilization, so-called civilization. So what we value, that depends upon our education, that depends upon our culture, how we are trained. So very nicely both the speakers have defined what science is. I have heard somewhere that actually there is no fact, there is only interpretation. The way we interpret the fact, that becomes the fact. So it is man who interprets, and that therefore science is relative, therefore knowledge is relative. And very beautifully Professor Mukunda said that unsublatable, or truth is uncontradicted, satyam avadhitam. Truth is that which remains constant among all changes. That is truth. And an electrical engineer is possible without perceiving electron. Similarly, we can't base our knowledge on verification experiment, physical verification experiment are necessary, but that is not the base of the total knowledge, total wisdom. For that, we should have a belief system, belief in the infinite, belief in something that is foundational, belief in something the source, which may not be seen, which may not be experimented in the sense of science, in the sense of a laboratory test. We may not, but we cannot avoid that truth. So the point is, value, the question of a value takes place when we ask the question why. Why science? then that is a question of value. Why religion? That is a question of value. If we do we need science at the cost of our peace, at the cost of our transformation? No. If the answer is no, then that means we are value oriented. So why science? Because if something is really scientific, that must give us peace, that must give us harmonious living. If our science does not promote that, if our science is destructive, if our science is training us in the trend of materialism, then that science is not value oriented. So value is not foreign to science. Value is not foreign to science. Value is not foreign to religion. Science itself is a value. When man had no knowledge about science, science becomes a value. But the problem is man can use and misuse. When we know how to use, it becomes valuable for us. If we misuse, by applying the same mind, the same technology becomes detrimental for our society. Therefore, there is war. Therefore, there is conflict. Therefore, there is yuddha. There is moral conflict, social conflict, political conflict, competition for materialistic achievement at the cost of a peace of mind. Therefore, we should value what is really preferable, not pleasurable. Prayer and Shreya, we should go with Shreya. So I shall not take much time. Both the speakers are brilliant. They um, they very beautifully justified that topic. This topic is same. They interpreted in their own ways. We are really enlightened by both the speakers. Tenatektana Bhunjita, that is from Isha Upanishad. I am really surprised that here you see the person who belongs to another religion. He is speaking about Tenatektana Bhunjita. How strange it is. It is not that he is a professor of philosophy, therefore he knows Isha Upanishad. It is not that. He believes in that. So when truth is spoken, when truth is addressed, diversities will not be there. That is the strength of truth. Even if science says that everything is relative, this is the greatness of science. The true knowledge is the acknowledgement that the knowledge is limited. We have a very small island of knowledge which is surrounded by the vast ocean of ignorance. Socrates is the best example with the wisest person of the world, but he says, I know that I know nothing. The same thing is said by Vedanta. Whatever you know, that is your appearance, that is avidya. And that is a journeying from ignorance to knowledge. The moment you know that truth, that is not a claimant of knowledge. The knower, knowledge and known, they become one. The moment you claim that you are a scientist, the moment you claim that you are an engineer, the moment you claim that you are a professor, you are not a Vedanta, you are not that one. The moment you realize that truth, you become one. And everything becomes one for you. You see yourself in everything and you see everything in yourself. That is Vedantic wisdom. And it is relevant to all the ages. Therefore, Professor Hamidullah Maharaj said, every age is the age of science. Because every age is the age of systematic knowledge. So, we have science that proves that we are free from our dogmatic slumber. This much. If you claim that you are a real scientist, that means you are free from that dogmatic slumber. If you restrict science to only materialism, to only communalism, to such and such isms, then the same dogmatism prevails. You are not free from that slumber. Similarly, if you claim that you are a Vedantist, then you should enjoy that wisdom. You should become what after what you know. Knowing is becoming. If I know the truth, I become the truth. This is the contribution of a Vedantic wisdom. If I do not become, if I do not transform after knowing something, then that is not knowledge. Knowledge is liberative by nature. Sa vidya ja vimukta hai. Here we do not know only for the sake of knowledge, only for the sake of information. Here we know for transformation. So true education is meant for transformation. So this great message is the message for all the time to come. This is eternal. This is Veda. This is Vedic wisdom. Thank you. Really, I am grateful to both the speakers. I don't agree with Dr. Mukund, who said that Professor Mukund that he belongs to another world and we belong to still another world. This goes against the Vedantic wisdom. Vasundhaiva Kutubankam. We all belong to the same world, and I am speaking it friendly. Don't take it otherwise. We shall invite you again and again, and you will come again and again. Thank you, sir. Now it is
You are
open.
very, you are very right, Professor Das, that ekam sad vipra bahuda vadanti. So whatever is expressed by Professor Mukund, that is his own apprehension and also realization. He studied well, very well, Vedantic thought also. We are really benefited and both are intertwined. It is a new aspect. But I have a little allegation against the organizers because they only allowed me 30 minutes, but they allowed him uh, 62 minutes. Uh, so I have minimized my lecture. But
Sir, just I shall interrupt. In 30 minutes, you spoke you spoke the volume. Shankaracharya detailed the entire Advaita Vedanta only in half of the sentence. Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya.
Jiva
So,
Brahma Banapara.
and Professor Mukund explained that truth is beyond space and time.
Yes,
So,
that's
thank you,
Vedantic thought.
thank you.
It is properly secular attitude, but we are the people inclined in some community only. But this is not.
Yes,
This
sir.
is particularly for entire globe, all people of the globe, as I understood. And
Thank
and
you.
uh, Professor Pierre Mukund very nicely depicted his idea from different corners, and this is really we benefited so much.
Thank you,
Uh,
thank you.
I am highly grateful to organizers for taking this initiative, and really we benefited so that truth can be apprehended from different corners of the world. Hence, this
Professor
let's
Islamji,
discuss.
Professor Islamji, we have with us Alok Tandonji,
Yeah.
Dr. Alok Tandonji. So
Oh, namaste, Alokji,
I shall request him.
Chandanji.
Namaste, namaste, namaste.
How are you, my
Uh,
friend?
fine, fine.
Oh,
Uh,
Sir, have your
yeah,
observation, sir. Have your observation, sir.
oh, it's very, 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 I must say, difficult to understand this Vedantic wisdom in the format of science. My first question, or I must say a clarification from Professor Mukund is that when you say that there is a science of matter and there is a science of energy, what we have learned in physics, and especially from the Einsteinian equation of E is equal to mc square, where matter is convertible into energy, then that energy is also material. And there is no two sciences. The same science deals with matter as well as energy. I seek your clarification. What type of science of energy you are talking about, which Vedanta deals. Is this energy a sort of cosmic consciousness which pervades the whole universe, which some people take it as a belief system, and which, in a way, considered to be foundational, but it is not verifiable, testable as what you call the material scientists do. It is a very much a subjective experience, what people claim, and comes through what you talked about, Guru Shishya Parampara. So, to call that a science in the modern understanding of scientific methodology, which is something more or less a naturalistic methodology. And this all understanding of Vedanta is what is called in our traditional thought some sort of a spiritualistic methodology. So why to conflate the two and call this a Vedantic science? Why not keep the Vedantic tradition separate from the modern scientific methodology? Though that methodology may not confirm the findings of Vedanta, as we have seen so far. And my question is that if Vedantic wisdom is so powerful, so immanent, so absolute, so foundational, why could it not lead to the solution of the world problems in history for the past thousands of years? Thank you.
Yes, when I use that word of science of energy and science of matter, I do that because not okay. So this is not at the level of universal consciousness and so on. When we deal with our everyday life, the thing is that there is this perception amongst a lot of people, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people, but that somehow this science of matter, which is observable. See, when you talk of observable, what are we talking about? So something that is observable outside, and that there's something observable inside. Observable in the sense of experiential, right? So one can be an external experience or an internal experience. Something where you can see something or you can feel something, right? So in that sense, my feeling is that there is no difference. That's all I'm saying. It's not like two different sciences. So I always get a little disturbed when people say that our thought process is not scientific. My thing is that if you're defining it in terms of a very, very limited external science, it's a definition of science. That's why I started with that. The question is, everything is observable and experientiable. Maybe not observable externally, but definitely that same concept that we use outside, where we have an sort of experiment. There's some input and there's an output. I cannot see what's happening inside, but I feed the input, I observe the output. In a similar sense, internally, I can have inputs and outputs. And just like science is ever evolving and going towards something which hopefully eventually is absolute, internally also it can be done. That in that context, I use that word science. That's all. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's my personal attitude towards these words. That's all.
Thank you for your answer, but I may not agree with that. idea of science, because science means open to public confirmation, rejection in a particular way. It is maybe experiential, but some sort of publicly testing is unavoidable.
I shall request Professor Islam to address the same question because topic was same. Professor.
Yes. I okay, this bit energy.
You are not
Wait a
audible,
minute.
properly audible.
Rhythmical.
I'm also having trouble hearing that.
Okay, okay. Now, over to Dr. Ranjit Ghosh, sir. Professor Islamji, you are not audible, so you will answer that later.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Das. Shall I speak?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I audible also? Okay. So I could not express my opinion on Professor Islam's paper because he is not properly audible. Now, when Professor Mukund is placing the Vedantic wisdom and Vedanta in the age of modern science.
Am I audible now?
Okay.
Ranjit sir, please wait 2 minutes.
Oh,
okay,
audible.
okay.
Oh.
Yes, yes.
Or Sir Ranjit will give.
Yes, sir. You just respond, sir.
I give answer. Short give that different and only in a lot of his there is no math, only molecules are at that means there better notion.
Voice is breaking. Okay, voice is breaking, sir.
No,
Voice is breaking.
Yes, sir. Your voice is breaking.
Hello.
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir.
Voice is breaking. Yeah. So
Yes, sir. We shall take your response after some times. So now it is over to Ranjit, sir.
Well, I have heard Professor Mukund very carefully, and he has placed the Vedantic wisdom and the its semblance with the modern scientific enterprise. Now, one thing I have to get some information from him, since he is also a physicist. To some 4 or 5 years back, a discussion on God particle came. And do you think that the same the God particle is the scientific name of our Brahman? Because the Vedantic Brahman, the characteristics with which is Anadi, Ananta, Brihat, all these things are this Higgs boson they suggest about the God particle. But after that, these things are, this concept is not much discussed here in our soil. But do you hear anything there over this? Any further research on this? Thank you. This particular question. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, to start with, I unfortunately, I'm not a physicist. I'm an electrical engineer. So my study is more application oriented. But having said that, I do have a certain base level of understanding of physics. And so to answer your particular question, For me to say that the God particle is what in certain circles of the Vedantic circle called Brahman, right? I'm not qualified to say that either, because without fully understanding, it's not just a word. We can all say words, right? But without fully experiencing that, you cannot say whether it's the same or not. So I'm not really qualified to do that. However, the some of the discussion related to that are similar. That's all I can say. I cannot say it's the same because I'm not qualified to say that, because you have to experience that in fullness before you can say that, right? So you really cannot make random judgments. But what I have found is that when these people talk about whether it's a God particle or something else also, there's a tendency among the Western scientists to either not even look at what Vedanta says, or there are some exceptions. There are some exceptions, but those are very, very rare. By and large, I would say 99% of the people do not even look at that. And even when what they so-called discover or come up with is only a fraction of what has already been there for thousands of years, they will not even refer to that, unfortunately. So that's the status of this also. And again, I have to say that I'm not saying that as an expert, more like a layman, because I'm fundamentally not a theoretical physicist. I'm a electronics engineer. I design chips. That's what I do. So I'm not really qualified to answer that.
Thank you, sir. But what I think our system of Vedanta is much more comprehensive than
Yes,
what Higgs bosons they are suggesting. Because
absolutely.
here, if you understand Brahman, Brahma vid Brahma iva bhavati. So we can experience within ourselves. But
Correct.
this Higgs boson, they have tried it to bring out the experimentally the God particle, but they have failed till date. So this is just a hypothesis for
That's
them.
true.
The Vedanic wisdom is a realization. We all want to realize it. That is the thing.
Correct.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Ranjit Ghosh sir, hello. Dr. Ranjit Ghosh sir, am I audible, sir? Am I
I
audible?
can.
Yes, audible.
Yes, yes, yes. Sir,
Uh,
I shall have a very humble submission where before you and before Professor Islamji, Professor Ranjit Ghosh sir and Alok Tandon ji, um, when we interpret experience, we use that word in both Vedantic wisdom and also in science. Science also believes in experience, which is external, which is based upon our experiments, and that is communicable. That can be communicated to all. Okay, that is public. But when we are talking about Vedantic experience, that is purely personal. I can't give the
exactly.
Vedantic wisdom to anybody else. That is self transformation. This is the basic difference. Vedantic wisdom, Brahmavid Brahmeva Bhavati, what I really understand, it is not necessary that I shall communicate, and if I shall communicate, you will understand. There is no guarantee. Therefore, you said that the vibration should be same between teacher and student, so that the communication is possible. But in case of science, it is not the problem. Here we can communicate anything to anybody, and if we fail to communicate, it's not science. But so far as the Vedantic wisdom is concerned, it is purely personal. I am I and you are you. Sankaracharya is Sankaracharya, Ramanuja is Ramanuja. It is purely personal, purely individual. Because my liberation is my liberation. My freedom from bondage is that is my freedom. I cannot transfer it to others. Anyway, we have with us Professor Hamidullah Maraji sir. Sir, please
Uh,
have your response, sir.
Can I?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It was really a very interesting discussion. And although I could not listen whole of the lecture of Professor Sirajul, but some portions of the lecture of another professor I could heard. But I have been also wondering for a long time that why we are just trying to rely on science always and try to search proofs for our own religious beliefs or philosophical beliefs or devotional thoughts from science, because we know that modern science has been based on in most cases on atheism, and it was based on the tramp of reason over faith. So because we have our own criteria for accepting any philosophy like Vedanta or Vedatul Wujud. And we should not just always try to make science criterion for these experiences. These, as you have said rightly, Professor Das has rightly said, these are basically subject to experiences, and science has been objective. And unless and until we prove it in the laboratory, and we should not make science a religion or a philosophy or Vedanta or Sufism or religion, subservient to the scientific criterion. Otherwise, we will lose many things, and we will try to explain everything of these subject to experiences in objective terms, and we will lose the actual mystical aspect of religion or the mystery which is behind each and every religious faith, because that's a different source of experience rather than having things from observation. This thing was done by Iqbal also. He just wanted also to make a religion as an experience as we have in science. But that has not helped at all. I think let us search for other criteria rather than scientific criterion for their religious experiences. Otherwise, this lecture was very beautiful and there was a lot of information and which added to our knowledge. Thank you very much.
Professor Islamji, have your comment if you are now audible.
Professor Dash, I have to leave.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So with your permission, I just want to thank you very much again.
Yes, sir. Sir, we are grateful. We are grateful for having you in this occasion, sir. Thank you.
Pranam, sir. Pranam, sir. Pranam, sir. Pranam.
Yes, over to Professor Islamji. Sir, have your last comment, sir.
Yeah. Now?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Am I? Oh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It is mean not our initiative or only that the philosophical facts which
no, sir. No, sir. Your voice is breaking, sir.
Philosophy of process.
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir. Okay, sir.
Hello.
Sir, your voice is breaking. Okay, we shall.
Hello.
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir. Sir, okay. We shall come to the conclusion here.
Okay, now.
Over to Doctor. Sir, you are not properly audible, sir. You are not properly audible, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So, Dr. Maharana, we shall conclude now because it is 9 p.m.
Okay. Okay. Thanks so much, Professor Das. So today is a great day for all of us because we have with us two eminent professors of our globe, Professor Islam and Professor Mukund. Professor Mukund and Professor Islam both are excellent in their own fields. Both have glorified us with their wisdom and ways of interpretation. And both Mukund sir and Professor Islam have reflected the role of Eastern values and moral values in the promotion of science and the solution of present day crisis, and also the crisis of everyday life. It's my pride privilege to extend my hearty gratitude to both the professors to be associated with us in this Sunday webinar and to reflect their wisdom to all of us. Today, I am also thankful to Professor Alok Tandon sir, Professor Hamidullah Maraji, and Professor Dr. Ranjit Ghosh sir for their good observation, and their observations have benefited us to extend the dimensions of our knowledge and thinking. With this, I also extend my gratitude to the senior professors of different fields of our globe to be associated with us. I extend my gratitude to other professors like Dr. Sinbas sir, who has introduced Professor Mukund sir to this Sunday webinar. We are really grateful to him for introducing the senior professors of our globe with us, with the philosophy family. We are also grateful to Professor Abhijit sir, Professor Onil Yabagal, Professor Sindal, Professor Neelup, and Professor Bandita Mukul, and so many professors like Professor Vijay Naik, Rabindra Pradhan, and others to be associated, and Madam Sabani Misra, and others to be associated with us and to be with us. And with this,
Dr. Madam, Professor Chandrika Madam.
Okay, Professor Chandrika. Okay, Professor Chandrika Madam is also with us. They have strengthened the activities of the philosophy family with their glorious presence and comments on the chat box. So today, with this, I once again I extend my gratitude to the two speakers, to all the senior professors and viewers, those who have remained with us till the end of this session. And I also extend my gratitude to Professor Pramod Kumar Das to invite such great professors and eminent scholars of the globe to the philosophy family, and for extending the glory of philosophy family. With this, once again, I extend my gratitude to all. Over to Professor Pramod Kumar Das for winding the session.
Yes, Dr. Mahana sir, I am really grateful to Professor Islam ji. He spoke only for 30 minutes, but his talk was very clear and transparent.
Very clear, very
Very
clear,
clear.
very clear,
Man,
very clear.
as he was teaching to the students of the
Yes.
university students in the classroom, it was very
And Professor
clear.
Das, Professor,
Hmm.
at first you have announced that Professor Sirajul sir that is allowed to speak till 7:30.
No, no,
But
no.
he ended his talk.
Really, I requested him to speak up to 7:15. But that does not matter. He spoke very well, very
Very clear. It is very
very
clear,
clear.
very clear,
Actually,
very clear.
there is no question to him.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, you select your next topic, sir. We shall prepare this slot for you. Thank you. And I shall request
Oh,
Srinivasan
one
ji.
Sufi.
Yes, sir. I shall request Dr. Srinivasan ji, and I am really grateful to grateful to him because he introduced Dr. Mukundji, and you also request him to select another topic for us. Thank you all. With this, the meeting is declared closed. Thank you.
Okay, sir.